What's up, everybody? This is Miguel, and today I'm going to attempt to replace my rear engine mount on my 2005 Acura TSX. So the location of the rear engine mount is like about the, let's see, this is the driver's side of the rear of the engine. Let's look at this engine mount. It actually has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bolts. These two bolts, this one and the other one on that side, those two are for the bracket that goes over the mount. And then the 4 on the bottom, those lock the base of this engine mount to the frame of the car. And then this bolt, the bolt that goes in here is the one that attaches to the bracket that goes connected to the engine. Unfortunately, the service manual does not have instructions on how to complete this job, but at least it does have the foot-pounds of what I need to torque all the screws at. So the first thing I need to do in order to give me a little bit more space to work with, I'm going to remove this aftermarket upper strut bar brace. Okay, the brace is off. Let's take a look inside. All right. So that's where the rear engine mount is at. I'm going to lift the engine or the whole car and put it on jack stands to give me easier access to this. Before we have access to the actual engine mount, we have to remove that top bracket that you see right there. So I'm going to go ahead and remove those. There's 2 bolts, one on the left, one on the right, that's holding it in. Those bolts are 17mm bolts. I also just used some penetrating oil to spray all of the nuts so that it's easier to remove them. Luckily, my DeWalt impact fits right into the space, and I used a shallow impact socket to get that bolt out. After the 2 bolts come loose, you just lift the bracket and it comes right out. So now we have more clear access to the bolt at the top of the rear. So the nut that goes here, or the bolt, is a 14mm bolt. In order to loosen that 14mm bolt in the rear, I had to use this ratchet. I actually tried to use a combination wrench, and I realized it was almost stripping the bolt, which you do not want. The ratchet that I used, it actually has like a way to get more leverage, so you can pull back on this and slide it to keep it short, or if you want it longer. Now the head, it has these buttons on the sides. You can push it in, and then you can move it whichever way you want, and then you press it on the opposite side and it locks it into that place. So I actually had to lock it in like this, and this was the only way that I was able to get out. But here's the bolt. Make sure you use a wire brush and clean these threads, because when you put it back, you want to make sure that it goes in with no problems whatsoever. So all we need to do now is remove the 4 bolts at the base of the engine mount. I used 2 extensions, impact extensions. We have the universal swivel joint right here. All the bolts are out from the base of the engine mount. Now we're going to use our floor jack, a couple of pieces of wood to lift the engine just a little bit on the rear end so that we can slide that engine mount out. We are under the car. We can see the engine mount from here. There's one of the side bolts. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the piece of wood right here on the transmission. Here are the pieces of wood that I'm going to use to put in between the transmission and the floor jack. I had to use this long pry bar to help me push that mount out. So it's already out of its location. I was able to fit the engine mount out through here. You can also unclip a couple of these electronic harnesses to help you get some room. So there you are. That's what it looks like without the engine mount. Before you lower the engine, you want to make sure that all the bolts are threading in to the holes. I'm ready to lower it. Hand thread everything and then torque all the bolts to 40 pounds. To help me torque the bolts, I'm going to use this extension. This is a 3/8 inch extension, and it's got a universal joint right here at the end, and this is a shallow 14 millimeter socket. So I do have a 1/2 inch drive torque wrench, and I have a 3/8 drive torque wrench. The reason why I'm using this bar, the 3/8, is because the impact extensions that I have are not long enough to allow me to the room to actually torque them. My wrench is set to 40 foot-pounds of torque. So you'll know it reaches its torque limit when you hear it click. It's ready. And of course, don't forget to put this bracket back on. Don't forget to set your torque wrench back to 0 to remove and relieve tension from the torque wrench. So now let me show you what the broken mount on my car looks like. So here it is. It's actually mounted this way on the car. This would be the back, this is the front of the car, and you see the massive crack right here. Open it up a little bit. There you have it. So this thing gave me some very heavy, I'm not even putting that much pressure on it, and it is moving. Keep in mind that this is like, the engine is a very violent machine. There's a lot of explosions going on, and so it definitely like gave me a lot more vibrations in the cabin that I wanted. I hope this video was helpful. My goal in making this video was to help other people to do this same job on their own. So cheers, good luck, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Peace.